Hey, it's James Lynch. One of the storylines that's been kind of forming over the last little bit here is the falling out between Mauricio Ruffy and John Silva from the Fighting Nerds. This started way back when Mauricio Ruffy started training with Alex Volkanovski for their last fights. Obviously, Volk and him fought on UFC 325. And now John Silva's come out and basically confirmed that they are not buddies anymore. So first, we're going to listen to Volkanovski talk about why he thinks Silva is upset with Ruffy. And then we'll watch an interview that John Silva did recently, basically confirming that the two are not they're not friends anymore. So here's Volkanovski first talking about the falling out between Ruffy and John Silva.
I just want to get your response from John Silva. He's basically said that he's going to do a camp with Ilia Topuria to break you. So I just wanted your response to that.
Oh, he said that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I think he's a bit upset about the Ruffy thing, but I mean, like, you know, I don't think there was anything more than the fact that, like, you've got Ruffy, who's a part of Engage Industries at the moment, AP management, and, like, we connected sort of through that, did a bit of training there, and, you know, he's obviously a very good guy, incredible guy, one of the nicest guys you ever meet, and obviously just wanted to work on these things, so I was always going to work with him. I know Rafa, so it was tough because I know Rafa as well, but at the same time, I was always going to work with Ruffy, and I think John Silva took that to heart. Supposedly, I don't know if it's real that they're not following each. Like, he doesn't follow Ruffy anymore. I don't know. It shouldn't be like that. It's nothing like that. It's not like we're, you know, I don't know why he's getting so butthurt about that. But
I just want to get your response.
So anyways, there's Volk's part. Now here's John Silva talking in an interview recently, basically talking about the fact that he's not friends with Mauricio Ruffy anymore, and we have the subtitles here. Unless you can speak Portuguese, you can get the direct translation here. But here is what he has to say in this 1-minute clip. The journalist who did this, I got to give him credit, is Lorette Viana. I hope I'm saying that right. Does some great work, though. A lot of good interviews and stuff. So let's check out this clip here from John Silva.
Chegou a hora da pergunta de $1 milhão. Por que Jean Silva parou de seguir Mauricio Ruffy no Instagram?
Cara, eu acho que não tem muito o que explicar, né? Acho que o Ruffy lá, eu cá, são assuntos internos. Também não vai ser eu que vou expor. O que eu posso falar é que eu quero distância dele e espero que ele queira o mesmo também. Se ele falar que não, que me ama, tá tudo bem. Espero que seja de verdade, tá tudo bem.
Eu perguntei para ele e ele falou que só te elogiou. Falou que até se precisar treinar juntos novamente no Brasil, ele treinaria. Essa relação de zero chance?
Acabou. Desejo o melhor pro Ruffy. Eu realmente quero que ele vença. Esse moleque tem uma estrela absurda. Ele tem os problemas internos dele que ele tem que resolver. Espero que procure ajuda. Não só ele, como vários outros atletas, assim como eu. Passo com o psiquiatra toda semana. Então, acho que espero que ele procure, outras pessoas procurem, ele siga a vida dele, ele siga bem. Mas Jean e o Ruffy não existe mais, não. E, papo reto, só existia na minha cabeça.
Yeah, so very interesting comments here. You know, I'm curious to see what other teammates on the Fighting Nerds think about this whole situation. Like, what does Kyle think? What do some of the other fighters there, Carlos Prates, think about this entire situation? You know, just kind of from the outside looking in, again, not a psychologist, that's why I'm talking about MMA here. You know, I do wonder, did Ruffy just go and train with Volk and not, like, give Silva this heads up? Because I could see there being a conflict there with the fact that Silva and Volkanovski are in the same division, and that might rub him a little bit the wrong way. And then, you know, you heard Volk in that clip there talking about how Silva says he's going to go train with Ilia Topuria. That's like, you know, ex-girlfriend energy. You know what I mean? Like, where you see, like, I'm going to get with this girl just to get back at my ex-girlfriend, you know, that type of thing. That's kind of how I took that. Although training with Ilia Topuria would be awesome, to be fair. But yeah, I think it's unfortunate. You know, I think the Fighting Nerds have been a really good story. I know they've got some pushback from the fan base with some of the losses they've had, but it's been a fun storyline. The glasses, obviously the highlights that they've had and all that. So this is kind of a bummer, you know, because this is one of sort of the positive stories we've had in the sport, is this really unique team that was going out there and winning a lot of fights. And I think it's a bit of a bummer that these two have had a bit of a rift. Like I said, I'm curious, you know, talking to some of these other fighters, like hoping I can talk to Kyle or Carlos Prates here in the next little bit and just get their take on this whole thing. I know it's between these two, but I'm curious if the team feels the same way, that maybe Ruffy was in the wrong here, maybe for not giving him the heads up, or maybe he did give him the heads up and Silva's still upset about this. Silva is he's a different guy for sure. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean he's not like your average I mean, how many people are barking on the way to the cage, right? Like, this guy's a lot different for sure. So something to sort of keep an eye on with these two. You know, I think if anything, it sucks for Silva, because I'm sure Ruffy was a guy he could have trained with, you know, and Iron iron sharpens iron. You only want to be with the best, so to speak, right? So I think from that perspective, I mean, they're not in the same weight class, but, you know, if Silva ever does move up, maybe that's a thing. Maybe they do fight each other at some point. I don't know. But you heard it in the clip here. Ruffy, by the sounds of it, is like, you know, wishing him all well and everything sounds good on his end. It's John Silva, who I think took this personally. And we've seen this before too. I brought this up on my live stream a while ago. Remember the Diaz brothers hated Tyson Griffin forever? If there's an old reference for you guys about Griffin leaving their camp and training at Extreme Couture. Like, there's some fighters that just don't like other fighters leaving gyms. They prefer the fighter to stay at that gym their entire career. But, you know, I want to remind the fans and everyone else you know, here at the end of the day, this is a selfish sport. You are an individual. You want to achieve the best success you can. And I think having the opportunity to train with someone like Volkanovski, who I've said it time and time again, I think has the best fight IQ in MMA, is one of the best fighters of all time. You take that opportunity to go train with someone like that. I think that's really important. So I don't blame Ruffy for going to make this move, but I do wonder, was there a communication breakdown between these two as to why Silva is upset with this? Also, keep in mind, Silva could be Volkanovski's next opponent. That's the other thing too. You know, I don't think he should get the title shot next. I've been very vocal about this on this channel. I think the winner of Lerone Murphy and Movsar Evloev should undoubtedly get the next title shot after they've been sort of pushed to the side with this Diego Lopez rematch we had a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, I should say. But it's the Paramount era, and would not shock me at all if the UFC is just like, you know what? John Silva's exciting. You know, they clearly, let's be honest, the UFC, I don't think wants Volkanovski champion much longer, right? Because he's older, and, you know, I think that's why they made the Diego Lopez rematch. They wanted Lopez to win. Obviously, he's big for a number of different markets for the UFC, Mexico, Brazil being them. But, you know, you get John Silva in here. They go to Brazil a lot. He's younger. I could see the UFC, you know, pulling a fast one and saying, oh, Silva deserves it. Look what he did to Arnold Allen, and, you know, giving him that opportunity. So this could be the next fight. So that adds another layer to this whole thing if that does end up happening next. Again, I think Silva should fight someone else. I think there's plenty of contenders out there that he could be fighting. And then if you want to talk about a title fight after that, getting 2 wins as opposed to 1, I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, kind of an interesting thing that flew under the radar a little bit. I shouldn't say flew under the radar. It has been out in the news and all that. I was going to talk about this yesterday, but then the Topuria news dropped. So I wanted to get to this today because I do think it's something worth monitoring. I mean, we see teams and teammates follow it all the time. You know, one of the most famous ones was the Rashad Evans and John Jones situation. Both them training at Jackson Wink, and Rashad obviously leaving when Jones became champion. So we've seen this before. It's one of the interesting elements of watching MMA is that, you know, you do train with guys, but if you're in the same division, there might be that point where you guys have to fight each other or whatever. In this case, it's, you know, a bit different with the fact that Ruffy is choosing to train with, albeit one of the best fighters of all time, but someone that's also in his teammate John Silva's division. So maybe there's some animosity there. But yeah, something to keep an eye on going forward as Ruffy, it looks like, well, I know Ruffy even prior to his fight said that he was still going to train at the Fighting Nerds. Is he still going to want to do that with this rift here? I do wonder that. Because my understanding was prior to the Fiziev fight, he was still going to train at Fighting Nerds. He just didn't do it the majority of that camp. So some interesting stuff for sure. So let me know what you think in the comments about this whole situation. What's your take on this? Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.